What up, my guys? Welcome to another show, man. NBA Talk with Jay Money and the Shark, man. We here. We got my guy Shark back in here, man. What's up with you, brother? Everything cool with you?
Absolutely, absolutely. We're fighting through technology warfare here. Of course, Jay just did a show. That was an inadvertent thing. We didn't get the message sent through, but that is unimportant now. Winning Wednesday, 2:14 p.m. Eastern, January 12th, 2022. Jay Money, a 9-play card today. Excuse me, a 9-game card. We probably could play every game, but 3 top officials, lead the way, please.
Let's get to it, my guys. And appreciate everybody for coming back and tuning in as well. The ones that's going to watch this show, really the real ones, guys. We got the first game up. We got the Celtics versus the Pacers here. Line is at 211. The Celtics, the line opened up for them -3, and it's down to 2.5. We noticed the home and home has cashed over 65% over the past couple of years, simply taking the team that lost the first game in the home and home. I must say, even obviously it's tough with the Pacers. They do have Brogdon, questionable, LeVert as well, some huge, and Duarte as well. So some huge pieces, especially for guards over there for the Pacers in this one. Shark, you like anything in this one?
Honestly, we go through this every day with Boston. Boston is so unbelievably unpredictable. Of course, you saw the last one. I suggested Indy would cover it because it was an inflated figure, and the line functionality purely does not matter with these groups. That being said, 6-3 at open is your ultimate stock figure coming home to road. I think this is going to hover. And frankly, given the Boston's inconsistency and unpredictability, I could see Boston coming in here and covering this one, actually. Non-cover at home, was right there, went to overtime, almost covered it in overtime, and of course gave it back again in overtime. Total no play for me, though. This is an incredibly difficult cap.
Yeah, I'm with you. Staying far away from this one. We know Smart is out for sure for the Celtics, but still got Tatum, still got Brown, and they still have more efficient point guard as well, and Dennis Schroeder coming off the bench. So this is one where I always say the line can move either way. Some huge question marks with the Pacers with Duarte, Brogdon, and LeVert. You could argue 3 of their most important players outside of Sabonis, guys. So definitely, if you like the Pacers, you want to wait and see if they got their guys. If not, it's definitely going to be an even stronger spot for the Celtics in that one. Let's go over here to the streets of Philadelphia. We got the 76ers here riding a streak right now. 6-game winning streak the 76ers are on. They do play a lot better on the road than they do at the house. And you got the Hornets here, Shark, as well. They're streaking as well, 3-game win streak. Unfortunately, they play better at the house than they do on the road as well. I know you're liking the Hornets in this one. Tough spot for me just for the sake of the Sixers have actually been playing some really good basketball. Joel Embiid balling out. But like you say, we know that the Hornets, they have the offense, can run and gun with any team in the league. It's all about will they come to play defensively here, Shark. What we liking?
Yeah, and we talked about this yesterday. The league right now is starting to really cluster. There's a lot of teams on significant winning streaks, Philly being one of them, a dub 7, in fact. But I bring you the other side of this, and I think this is highly noteworthy. Charlotte is on an L16 against Philly. They have lost 16 straight games. And I want to remind people, the last time Philly had such a clustered streak against an opponent, it was the New York Knicks early season. And what did we do? We took the Knicks correctly to get off that elongated 4-season schneid. I think it ends tonight here for Philly. And what you're really looking at is the way this matchup is really flowing from the beginning of last season. You go back early season last year, 2 in a row, 127-112 Philly in Philly blowout. Came back the next day, 118-101 blowout. Then it came back and it started to move this direction. 118-111 Philly push. And then you come this year, 127-124 in overtime Philly on a 7 non-cover, 110-106 non-cover. So you go blowout, push, overtime, non-cover. You guys see what I'm saying? This is trending towards an outright win for Charlotte. And you look at how Charlotte has competed on the road this year against top Eastern teams. It's very impressive. Outright win at Washington when Washington was hot. Outright win at Atlanta. Outright win at Brooklyn. And a 2-point loss at Milwaukee. Their bad road environments have mostly come against the West. And I know a lot of counterpoints would say a road game 1 off a good home sequence has been their bane, their kryptonite. It's really situational. Loss at Houston, blowout loss at Dallas, blowout loss at Golden State. But when you really look at this, the line is short. 7 road, 5.5 open, home. It should be 10. Telling you a story. Philly doesn't compete that well at home. Double revenge game. Charlotte showing signs. L16, I think, ends tonight. Official play, Charlotte plus 5-1 unit.
Yeah, I couldn't talk you off this one as well. Like I say, Sixers been hot. I know that Curry set out the last game, possibly come back. This line could go back up to 6 here. Yeah, like you say, Sixers on a 7-game win streak. The Hornets as well, 3-game win streak. It's a tough spot, man. I could definitely understand why you're taking the Hornets in this one, though, my guy. Let's go over here to the streets of Washington, D.C. We got the Wizards here laying 6.5 in another home spot versus the Magic here. We saw them having to come back, having to do a lot to come back in the fourth quarter versus the Magic in the last game, 102-100. Now they come to a house. Now they come back to the house with the rest disadvantage. You have the revenge spot for the Magic as well. They've lost 9 straight games. It's not good that Bamba and Wendell Carter Jr. are not in for this one, but I believe they do get Robin Lopez back tonight. So they're missing their most important bigs, but I do still think they have the size to bang down low with Gafford. Terrence Ross went off in the last game as well. So I think the Magic here have the pieces to keep this game close in this one, Shark. What are you thinking in this one?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Obviously, you mentioned it. Washington here on a 3rd and 4 back-to-back, 122-118 last night against Oklahoma City. But you do get that small window revenge game, which is very important here. They did just beat Orlando on the road, but did not cover. And this line is shortening up. It was 6 in Orlando. It opened at 8 here. It should be 9.5. I think they're telling you a similar story to what I just described with Charlotte. When you get a road revenge game for a team that should have potentially won at home in a close window on a short line, I think Orlando, as Jay said, numerous times in this stream going back last month and a half, are really starting to connect with this coast. They compete very well. And of course, we've said this numerous times, Washington is a fade team versus their point per game differential. They have shown a bit of a cliff dive environment here. 3rd and 4 is going to be a tough spot. Revenge game, short line, nothing official, but I would not talk anybody off taking Orlando here at plus 6.
Exactly. And I'm with you on that. And after the guys got ruled out, the line had moved. I'll be honest, this one was at 9.5 last night. I knew that shit was gonna be there when I woke up. It got pounded down. I'm looking at the line movement, 9.5, 9, 8.5, 8. Literally just got pounded into the right position. And then you see this line where it is. But I agree. Magic, the only way I can look in this one, I think they match up well versus the Wizards as well. You're still catching the Wizards without Bradley Beal. Like I say, they're missing Bamba and Wendell Carter Jr., but they still have some bigs that can bang down low with the Wizards. Magic, the only way I can look in this one, they almost beat them at the house. Now they come on the road looking to end that L9 losing streak. Magic, heavy lean to the Magic for me in this one. Let's go over here down to the streets of Atlanta here. I don't know if we, a lot of people say, I know it's not chicken, but I still like to eat chicken when I'm on the Hawks here, Sharp. You got my guy putting the hat on. We got the line open up at 4.5. It was down to 2.5, back up to 3. Injuries, a ton of injuries on both sides here. We know that the Heat, last game of a road trip, you got the Hawks coming back in, first game at home off of a road trip. You like anything in this one?
I do. We went to this hat on the West Coast. It did not come through. We're coming home, and I'm hoping to go 1-1 with this hat. Buy hat is engaged. Hot Atlanta, will Atlanta, let's go. And what's going on here? We talk about streaks. Look at Atlanta. Are you kidding me? Atlanta hasn't won a home game in over 2 months. They're L8, last 8 at home. And if you really go through their schedule, Atlanta has not had it easy in this campaign. They've had tons of clustered road games. Their home schedule in that 2-month period, they haven't really had a home stand. All their home games were just a one-off at home, back on the road, or at best 2. This is their first home stand since, I believe, November 14th. And I bring you back to November 14th. I went on record, official play, Atlanta minus 4.5 over the Milwaukee Bucks, 120-100 on that particular afternoon. And you really look what was going on there. They were coming in here in a very similar position. They were coming off a West Coast trip and 2 outright losses on that particular day when they found Milwaukee in their home gym. And they're coming in here off a long road trip against the West and 2 outright losses and non-covers against the Lakers and the Clippers back-to-back. And you really go to the other side of this. Miami is in really an awful, awful travel spot. Miami's been on the West Coast for 5 games. They come home with a one-off in the division before they go home. They're also 3-0 ATS last 3, cover at the Warriors. outright win last game against the Suns. This is just your absolute bottom out spot. And you look at the line number, it's very noteworthy. Last year, Atlanta was an underdog all 3 times to Miami. This is moving towards Atlanta. Final point, last year, Atlanta was 5 games under 500 at 17-22. Excuse me, 15-20 through 35 games. They made a coaching change. They're currently in a very similar position at 17-22, 5 under through 39. I think this is where they turn up. They get a huge cluster of home games here. I believe they play 10 out of their next 11 at home after 8 of the previous 9 on the road. Miami comes in here, ultimate fatigue spot. Line number, it's all over Atlanta. I think Atlanta turns up here tonight, wins the game by 10 points plus. Official play, -2.5, 1 unit.
Yeah, that's a good point as well about the coaching change. I know that McMillan has been out for a while. I'll be interested to see if he comes back today from the COVID pause. The only thing, like with the Heat, like you say, it is they're coming off the last game of a long road trip. And they did have 3 days off before this game, so I'd like it. Me personally, I'd like it more if they only had 1 day in between and looking to get to the house. So I'm actually pretty tripped out. I was like trying to look and see if they had a game canceled or anything. They just gave them 3 days off to rest before this game, so it's going to be a tough game. Obviously, the Hawks have been playing well. Heat started to play a lot better, but obviously the Hawks couldn't. I'm sure they couldn't wait to get back to the house. Hopefully they'll win their first home game in over 2 months for my guy Shark today, my guys. Let's go over here to the streets of New York here. Pants on, but they're not rolled up right below my calves here. I'm riding with my Mavs squad today, guys. It's nothing, no fanboy shit. Literally, this team is one of the hottest teams in the NBA right now. And what I want to do, I want to ride their streak. I've cashed with them all 5 times over this last 5-game win streak as well. They've covered 4 straight, 9 out of 10, depending on what number you got versus the Thunder over there. Like I say, if you got on it earlier, they cashed 9 out of 10. But like the Mavs here to smack up the Knicks here, the Mavs number one offense, number 1 defense over the last 4 games, guys, in the NBA. Inside of the whole NBA, these guys are really starting to lock in on the defensive side of the ball. You look at it, they have some really great defenders. The time without Luka Doncic really helped the bench and the rest of the team learn how to play without him. That way, when he is out there, he can really just defer to Brunson and just be a decoy out there. I like the Mavs here, -2 over the Knicks tonight. Shark, could you talk me off?
No, I don't think I could. If you go back to last year, I think it's very important too. The Knicks were very good on the road last year against the West. They were awful at home, and it's continued this year. The Knicks have not been particularly good on these short line underdog spots against the West. Dubs -5.5. They lost by 9. Phoenix came in there and cleaned them up on a short line, and Denver got them 113.99 on a short line as well. Of course, this is notably short, but I don't think that necessarily matters. Knicks are clustering at home. They're 4-0 straight up in ATS last 4. Mavs, obviously, as you said, on a dub 6. But I do think, given the functionality of last year's environment, a really important point here as well. I see Nets bets in the chat looking at a sharp under. 99.86 in MSG last year, 117-109 in Dallas. I think this is going to come down as well. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. Couldn't talk you off. Nothing official for me, but I do lean the under here as well.
Yeah, the under is 9-2 in the last meetings as well. The Mavs are also 3-1 against this 3-1 straight up and 4-0 against the spread. Last 4 meetings in New York. They're also 5-2 against the spread last 7 meetings. So for whatever reason, Luka, like we know, the Madison Square Garden, there's going to be away teams that like to go in there and turn up. Luka Doncic, he's one of them. I see him going off tonight. I couldn't get the double numbers right before the show, but I see Luka going off for a double-double. The price for his triple-double is very low as well. They got it at +350. That's about as low as you're going to find for someone to go triple-double. So even the books are telling you Luka is very live to go off in this game. And it's not just Luka. I think it's Jalen Brunson has been the main catalyst for this Mavs team right now that a lot of people hadn't thought about. Got Tim Hardaway Jr. coming off the bench. Josh Green playing a lot better as well. Like I say, the Mavs really start to catch a win without Luka. He came back. They learned how to really play and gel without him. He come back on the floor, and they playing a lot better, guys. I think they keep it going today. Let's go over here to the streets of San Antonio here, Shark. It's a terrible spot for the Spurs, if you ask me, coming off that 7-game road trip. Funky spots. Obviously, Toronto, Philly, New York, and Boston are in the same little spot, but still traveling all over the place. Now they come to the house playing their first home game of the year. I'm sure they'll be turned up. Couldn't wait to get back to the house, but I do think that it's a funky spot for this first game. Even if they do win the game, I think it'll be by just a few points. I see the Rockets covering this game. Obviously, if it's a hold your nose type of game here, Shark, but the Rockets +7, the only way I could look in this one, especially with the Spurs having injuries as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. I didn't go super deep on this game. I was going through 9 games. There's some very good looks on this card. I didn't love this spot. Obviously, when you do find San Antonio coming off the road trip, it's a great fade coming home. Obviously, a massive environmental shift. You always talk about it. Get home with the family, the dog, readjust that time zone, et cetera, et cetera. But I do think it's a bit of a tough spot. We always talk about that 6 being kind of the razor sharp environment, particularly for a favorite 3-bucket line. Houston comes in here on an L3. Houston is scrappy. Houston definitely could get there. I got nothing official from here. I wouldn't advise either way.
Yeah, nah, the Rockets, these guys, I like I say, a lot of people are just looking at them. I can tell you this one, Shark, because we see it open up at 5.5 and then up to 6.5, 7 now. I think the Rockets may come to play in this one, and it will come against a team like the Spurs as well. They only have 4 more wins than the Rockets, guys. So I don't think they should be laying. I think 7 is too rich for the Spurs to be laying, especially in this funky spot, guys. Let's go over here to the streets of Utah. We got the Jazz laying 5.5 over against the Cavs, guys. And like I always say, man, I know people hate Rudy Gobert getting Defensive Player of the Year every year. I think they may have to be an MVP candidate. You look at how the Jazz have looked without Rudy Gobert. It's actually pretty awful. They're ranked last in defense without Rudy Gobert and in rebounding. That's what makes the Jazz. Obviously, Gobert anchoring the paint and getting all those boards. He can go for 20-20 any night. They're really missing Gobert over there, Shark. What we doing? We liking the Cavs today?
Absolutely. A suddenly not so casual winning Wednesday, January 12th, 2022. Official play Cleveland Cavaliers +6. What you're looking at here, first off, a revenge game 109-108, Utah in Cleveland. But this is on the travel schedule for Utah. Utah's in a brutal spot here. People might say, I want to buy them off an L3. I discourage. You look at an L3, you come home for 1 game, then you go back on the road to Denver and LA. They've had 2 environments specific to this in the campaign already. Earlier in the year, where they had a road trip, 1 home game, and then went back on the road. Specific spots really do matter. 119, 113 non-cover against Sacramento. We had Sacramento correctly that day. And a 119, 118 outright loss to Memphis, which Jay had officially on that day. Same environment here. Long road trip from the East Coast. Come home 1 game, go right back on the road. And if you really look at what Utah's been doing all year against the East, they've been very lackluster at home. Outright loss to Miami, outright loss to Indiana, non-cover against Boston. The only teams they've handled at home from the East this year are the 76ers and the Hawks. And a very key point here is they also blew out Philly on the road and Atlanta on the road. So it means it was more so on the opponent specific. And if you look at what they did against the Cavs, they barely got there on a -5 on the road. Cavs come in here off an 0-2 ATS sample. Cavs do travel much better as an underdog. They're getting back into their comfortable environment where they're not laying points. It's not over-adjusted. And final point, the line is short. Utah was -5 on the road, only 6.5 here. It should be 8.5. It's going to be a tight game. I think Cleveland gets there. I think Cleveland could win this game outright tonight as Rajon Rondo continues to integrate into the lineup, his 4th game with the team. Official play, +6, 1 unit.
Yeah, Jazz 0-6 against the spread last 7 as a home fave, and they're also 0-7 last 7 at the house, period, guys. And unfortunately, I did see Rondo, like I'm on the Cavs too. I did see Rondo was questionable with some hamstring tightness. That will be some BS. Like they'll need him because he's the backup point guard off the bench. We'll see what happens in that one. I still like the Cavs in this one. I'll be obviously counter narrative. The Jazz could be pissed off. You see Donovan Mitchell's comments last game, basically calling out the team, telling them they have to defend better. But I don't think it's that simple because we know that the Jazz don't really have good perimeter defenders. It's Gobert that makes their defense, and you're seeing it. The switch has definitely flipped ever since he's not out there. Like I say, 30th in defensive rating last 4 games. That's last in the NBA, guys, by the Jazz. I don't expect them to flip that switch until Gobert gets back tonight. Hassan Whiteside cannot do that. Evan Mobley and Jared Allen will eat tonight, guys. I'm telling you this. Rebounds for both and points and rebounds for both. Both of them are cashing, guys. But I can't say I did rock with Donovan Mitchell over 3.5 threes and over 27.5 points. Whether they win, lose, or cover, I still think Donovan Mitchell is going off for 30 points in his sleep tonight, guys. So rocking with some props heavy in that one. Definitely taking the Cavs. Hopefully we get Rondo in there. We did not need him to sit this one out, Shark. Let's go over here to the streets of Chicago. We got the Bulls here. Just beat the Nets already twice this season. Now, one time at the house in the matinee, and the other time in Brooklyn. We know that the Nets don't play that well at the house. Now they're on the road. Unfortunately, Harden's a little banged up with the knee. Kyrie Irving's banged up with the ankle. Not sure if they'll both play here, but if they're the team that I know, it should be a benchmark type of game, right, Shark? You're facing up against the top team in the East. You're on a road where you play better and can have all three of your stars. I lean the Nets here. It's going to be a tough game. I hadn't bet anything yet, but the Nets the only way I could look in this one, Shark.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't disagree from the standpoint. You do get a double revenge game. Of course, they got insulted in the first matchup this season by, I believe, 25 plus points. Then a tighter one at home, 111-107. The number's right around it. The first one was Nets -1 on the road. Then it came back to 2.5. It was a little short. They lost. And I think a key point about both of those games, they were fourth quarter melts for Brooklyn. On the road, they got absolutely hammered. I believe it was 42-17 by Chicago. And then obviously in Barclays, I think Chicago got there by 7 in the fourth quarter. I had Brooklyn that day in the revenge matchup, and they screwed me completely. As you said, they've been better on the road. My only hesitation here, again, is James Harden in and out of the lineup. Kyrie Irving still in only his third game with the group. And I do think this fatigue environment for Chicago is a little bit overstated. I was actually just talking to somebody about it on Twitter in the DM. Some of these teams can beat down teams like Detroit in their sleep. It really is that easy. It's like a YMCA game in terms of the amount of energy they exert. So I don't know they're necessarily going to be really fatigued here. And I do just worry about what I've seen so far from Kyrie and the boys on the road here. I think it could take more time. We always talk about this. When you go back to like the LeBron James Heat with D-Wade and these boys, it took them 20 games to get into a flow, not 2. So Kyrie and the guys on the road, this is only their third. In my opinion, this could linger a little bit longer. Chicago is incredibly difficult. They're deep, they're focused, they're committed, they are ultimate. Something I say in my mind all the time, focused, committed, ultimate. But when I see my man Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, these boys, Billy Donovan, an Army background coach, tough fade for me. I like that group a lot. I think it's a toss game. Obviously, you want to take Brooklyn a double revenge, but I do think it's definitely more layered than just that here.
Yeah, it's definitely a toss game, guys. And I want to say something real quick on the rest, because even though they only played 27 minutes, they still had to get up, get ready to stretch. You know what I'm saying? All this, go through the whole situation for a game, guys. So we're talking about the NBA. We're talking about rest advantage. Even though the team wins on the blowout, it's still in theory they still had to play in. You know what I'm saying? Play an NBA game. So what it's saying is they won't necessarily have is the same amount as energy, especially when it comes down to the fourth quarter. So actually, the way I could I'm not betting this game. And the Nets absolutely hate me. Like every time I bet them, they've just really been one of those teams this year where I just can't really get them right. But the way I see this one, I could see that the Nets flip the switch this one and make the fourth quarter comeback when they come back on the Bulls in this one. So I lean Nets with the double revenge. It's really tough to beat a team 3 straight times. So Nets the only way I could look in this one. But obviously the way that the Bulls are balling out, they have the better defense. They're at the house, but they still at the rest disadvantage, guys. So see what happens here. Lean Nets, but it's not something I'll be betting. Definitely a toss-up game could go either way there. Wouldn't surprise me. Let's go over here to the streets of Sacramento. Last game up. I almost forgot about this game. There's so many games on the board. I'm like, oh, it's one more. We got the Lakers versus the Kings here. Obviously, the Kings on a huge slide. I don't think they'll be bet on until they get rid of their coach. Don't get it twisted, guys. The Kings have some ballers. They can play. I don't think it's based on their coach or prepared, you know what I'm saying, basically preparation of a game. It's basically just them out there going basketball, trying to match up versus another team. So that's why I always say about the Kings. They're just out there running around playing basketball. No plays. They're not playing any defense. They don't even pay attention to that side of the ball. We know that the Lakers are due to get on the road. They were playing a lot better at the house. They do come off a 5-game homestand, first game on the road. But Shark, the only way I could look in this one is the Lakers. You think the Kings come to play here?
I don't know. I mean, this is just incredibly tough. I think we talk about both these teams. They're very unpredictable. I think it's a sharp line. You saw the last matchup, 122-114 in crypto.com. That number was anywhere from 6.5 to 8. So some people pushed, some people won, but it was razor sharp. And it was a backdoor, if you remember. They really came late in the last 90 seconds of that game. Obviously, the only other time the Lakers have played in Sacramento this year, they did blow them out. I believe LeBron James did not play in that game. And Sacramento just completely cliffed over in the second half. They only scored 33 points in the game. And that was something that I had mentioned when I capped the over in the previous game as being a top-graded spot. They went under. They actually went way over, 141, 137 in the first one, but it was triple overtime. That was a regulation under. And then they went under in the second one. And, of course, we hit the over in the previous one. If anything here, I would lean to more points again. I think off 2 unders coming back over a 4-game sample, this probably should go 2-2 against the totals. I would lean over here as my top play. I'm not officially on this. I'm going to look at this a little later. Of course, 10 p.m. Eastern. We got some time here, but I think the over would probably be the best look here if I had to take anything.
Plenty of time, my guys. Yeah, I'm not betting that game. Let's go over here to the streets of free NBA picks, guys. Break them off with your official, Shark.
Absolutely. 3 top plays, 9 words of lifestyle. Ride the wave out of the water. You look at the buy hat, Cleveland Cavaliers traveling to Utah. Utah, awful travel schedule here. Revenge game, short number, +6. Charlotte having lost 16 in a row to the 76ers. The last time I said before, the Sixers had beaten a team 4 straight years. We had it correctly with the Knicks early season. I think Charlotte gets over the hump tonight. I think Charlotte probably wins the game outright here on what is a double revenge game this season at a short number with the environment scaling directly towards Charlotte here. Final play, Hawks, -2.5. 1 unit. Hawks have lost 8 straight home games. They haven't played a lot of home games. They haven't won a home game in 2 months. Miami's in a brutal spot. See my guy Ty in the chat. Miami won't be tired necessarily in their legs. And Isaiah, obviously, a sharp comment. Mental fatigue. When you've been traveling the country for 2 weeks, you've been all over the grid, West Coast, East Coast, you come back, you get an angry team, a rested team, an almost full roster team now in the division. This is an absolute turn-up spot for Atlanta today. -2.5, 1 unit official. And we're glad you guys were able to come on to the second show. Of course, that was a technological error we had earlier. There was no beef between us. There was no shade. There was no hangovers. There was nothing. It was purely the internet being the internet. So we appreciate you guys coming in here and watching. Again, this will be reshared on Twitter shortly. J Muddy is Muddy. A pleasure as always. Close them out.
Yes, sir, guys. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. We're going undefeated today, guys. My guy Shark did another show just for him to come on here to bring you guys with your officials. Obviously, if you follow us on Twitter, you already got those. Go and follow us on Twitter at Sharks in Sports. You can follow me as well at J Money is Money. We do this for the people. It's all love every single day. We appreciate everybody in the chat as well, guys. Hit the like button, subscribe. We out. We back tomorrow. Let's get some cash.